Hello everyone, my name is Raylazor and welcome to Battalion Nemesis, an Advanced Wars clone created by Urban Squall. Alongside Nemesis we have multiple Battalion games which we'll hopefully be able to cover in the future. That's no guarantee. If you'll notice that I'll be playing this on AI difficulty, on normal. I'm going to be completing all the missions for Nemesis. I'm not the best strategist, so don't expect me to pull out any professional tactics. And finally, the missions, as they get later on, they'll take longer. I'll be covering these missions one per video, so the first mission might take 5 minutes as a video, and the last mission might take 2 hours. I've done a test run of this to make sure I was able to complete all these missions. Unfortunately, the AI gets very relentless as well as very slow as the game progresses, because it will calculate every possible move in order to win. At any rate, for the first video I'm going to be covering up the entirety of Bootcamp. Considering Bootcamp contains a few levels, currently we only have one unlocked. Another thing to note is that we have quite an odd GUI setup now. So if I start this mission, Bootcamp 1 Core Concepts, master the basics of terrain cover and attack types in Commando versus Commando battles, you'll note that the bottom right squares will cover up the 2 squares over here on the bottom right screen for our main combat screen. There's a good reason for this. One of them is that by clicking any tile on the area, you'll be able to get an information screen on it. Of course, will slow, wield, and track units, but it will provide defensive cover from attacks. And alongside this, you have a bunch of tiny little squares at the bottom right which have information in them. Unfortunately, these clip, so you're going to have to look at the main screen on the video in order to see this. Like how it has camouflage, which reduces damage by 20%, as well as being rugged, which slows wheeled vehicles. Alongside seeing this, you can also click on a unit in order to see its statistics. You can see what kind of armor it wears, what kind of damage or weapon it uses, the abilities to that specific unit, as well as their description. And finally, on this window we have the economy system. It's not much, but I decided to have the screen here either or. The mini map at the top right will show you where the red and blue units are. I chose not to put this down because 1, it probably wouldn't be able to fit anywhere, and 2, it frequently has a lot of empty space, so it's not necessary. Well, recruit, let's get down to business. You've been granted control of 3 strike commandos. Your task is to defeat the 2 heavy commandos. Strike commandos are more effective against lightly armored units like commandos and trucks, so you should have no problem dealing with these guys. If you want to minimize damage you take, we suggest you attack from these mountainous locations. They will absorb some of the damage incurred during enemies' counterattacks. Only commandos and air units can cross mountains like these. Good luck, soldier. So you'll notice that the enemies have heavy commandos which have bazookas on them. The reason why they have this is because heavy units are very ineffective against lightly armored targets. The reason why you're fighting against these is because our strike commandos are actually lightweights in order to prevent us from actually getting ourselves killed in this. Now, the thing suggests that you can walk over and take care of these strike commandos, which we'll do. I mean heavy commandos. But another thing is that you notice there's a few fields here. These are oil refineries. This is also the reason why blue team has $51. They gain a little bit of money every single round, and the command center will essentially end the game if you manage to capture it. Throughout the main missions you will probably almost never ever capture these, so don't worry about it. This thing is usually just here to let you know that the game still exists. If you somehow get caught in a standoff, of course you can capture it. Unfortunately, moving walking targets, which are essentially only strike commandos and heavy commandos, it would take forever to capture something. Without further ado though, these heavy commandos also wear light armor, so our light weapons should be effective against them. We're going to have this guy start doing a little bit of damage on him, and we're going to put one right here to take care of one of them. And since we have the 2 mountains occupied already, we'll send this one on the left to take care of one of the commandos. And this guy's going to try to flee. Another thing is that when you attack someone, the enemy also has a chance to attack back if they don't die. Great work, soldier. It's time to move on to your next lesson. And this is the secret mission. So there's one secret mission in this game. We won't be covering it until the end of the series, so stay tuned. Let's move on to Bootcamp number 2, picking your battles. Learn about capturing properties and strategic victory. You don't need to destroy the enemy to win if you eliminate his capacity to fight. So this will pretty much explain the command center system to you. How you can capture that instead of fighting every single enemy on the field. Unfortunately, once again, you're going to be killing everyone 9 out of 10 times probably. Ironically, there are 10 missions in the game and I have never captured a single command center in one of them. In this scenario, the enemy clearly outnumbers you, but he has one significant disadvantage, his command center. Move a commando over the command center, capturing it will begin automatically. His army will be forced to surrender if you are successful. Watch the command center's flag in order to get an indication of the capture progress. A full health commando will take 2 turns to capture any property. Your flag cannon is highly effective against air units and commando units. So a nice little note is that the flag cannon is a cheap, inexpensive, and very powerful way to take care of air-based opponents. Another thing is that you can do air-on-air fighting in the future, but if you feel like mobilizing tanks, flak tanks are a way to go. You notice they only have 17 damage, however, if it fights another enemy with 17 damage, it will be able to do 2 times damage against light armor, changing this 17 damage to 34. It's also very cheap and moves very quickly, so it's a very effective way of handling aircraft. Of course, not the best. We'll get to the best in the future. Another really good perk of it is that it has medium armor, so heavy and light damage don't do an increase in effectiveness against it. It will take all damage equally. So let's begin. Another thing with flak tanks is that if you really want, you can actually use it to just completely wipe out commandos. This thing is so powerful. And I'm just going to avoid General Pros text right here. If you really want, you can just skip back the video and pause to read these, considering most of this stuff is not very helpful, let's be fair. Anyways, we're going to move our strike commando in immediately to take care of one of these guys. Not the highest amount of damage, but very high damage. It can do a lot of economy devastation. And in the meantime, we're going to be setting up these guys in preparation to take over the command center. Overall, we shouldn't have to worry about our tanks. Even if the tank does get destroyed, we can always capture the command center. The commando troops over to the right side will have to run all the way back around. Another thing is that it will show you a little plus, equal, or minus sign depending on the effectiveness of the troop you're using against. So the lower your health, the less damage you deal, needless to say. Our flag tank is taking quite a bit of damage and it will be destroyed soon, as well as these guys have just caught wind of what we're doing. Nothing to worry about because we can stack in order to tank these guys off, and we don't really have to worry too much about our flag tank. And that's one of the ways to capture. You'll notice that it'll tell us that it's ineffective to hit this guy, but it's semi-okay to hit this guy. The reason it being is that this strike commando has less health and will probably get killed. Otherwise left at very low health. That's why he's the better option. So this is very helpful when you're playing throughout the game if you don't feel like reading up on stats immediately. And you can't play through this game without worrying too much about stats. Nonetheless, you should probably check them because it's very effective, and if you plan on playing the other games in the series, a lot of them will carry over. Sometimes it's easier to capture the enemy command center or war factories than it is to defeat his army. Keep your eyes on opportunities to launch these tactical strikes. Another side note is that you will be capturing a lot of war factories and oil rigs. So earlier you saw those oil rigs, which will produce money, and war factories will essentially let you produce troops with the money you earn, and thus you will probably want to be capturing them in order to get troops out fast and quickly, as well as the AI has a tendency of spitting out a lot of very annoying troops. They tend to start off with a lot more money. Alright, let's go into Bootcamp 3, which will be starting out air and sea. An effective commander will attack his enemies from the ground, sea, and air. This scenario gives us an introduction into some of the more powerful units under your command. As an officer of the Northern Federation, you will often find yourself in control of ground, air, and sea forces. In this scenario, you are tasked with eliminating the enemy naval fleet and ground forces using a combination of air force and ground troops. The Condor Bomber is one of the most powerful units in the game. It can do massive damage to ground and sea targets. Beware of the enemy rocket truck. It's capable of firing on air, sea, and ground targets and has an impressive range, though it tends to be more effective against heavily armored targets. The enemy battlecruisers have long attack range than other unit in the battlefield. Luckily, its guns cannot fire on your air unit. Remember to review the tactical information that appears on the recon panel. You click on a unit or terrain. Good luck, soldier. So this thing is essentially saying that this rocket truck will probably have a nice time just completely slaughtering your small little Raptor fighters. Raptor fighters are very ill-equipped, they're very light. However, a benefit is that they move super fast by having 7 units of movement. The damage is nothing to worry about, nor is the health. But nonetheless, another thing you want to do would be start pumping these Raptor fighters absolutely everywhere and overswarm them like a horde of bees. Which I'll be doing a lot in the series, and I'll probably re-mention over time. A nice concern we have is the flat cannon, which can engage on aircraft and does 34 damage. This has a tendency of chewing up our Raptor fighters very easily, so our goal would probably to send our Raptor fighters in to take care of the 2 anti-air units over at the north using trucks. We'll have our Scorpion tanks over here move in to engage these guys as well as take care of the 3 commandos here. They cannot hit the air target, so we have nothing to worry about. And the final goal would probably have these our Condor bomber to take care of the battlecruiser ships. So let's begin with that. I definitely really want to take care of the enemy air units, and the reason why it's a very good idea to take out this rocket truck immediately is because it cannot shoot things that are too close to it, unlike the flat cannon. Hence why when you select one of the Raptors, you actually get a minus sign with the flat cannon, but you got a plus sign with the rocket truck. At any rate, let's send our Scorpion tank in to take care of the flat cannon, or at least annoy it a little. Probably take about 2 to 3 rounds for this, maybe a little bit more, to wipe out the troops. Otherwise, there's not too much to worry about. I don't have to worry too much about the commandos because these guys are equipped with light weapons compared to our tanks, which were medium. So otherwise from that, we can just move in and take care of everything. I think I'm going to actually destroy the flat cannon because its health is already low, so it won't be able to retaliate against us. And alongside this, I'm going to send one of our troops to go help and take care of the battle cruisers. Battle cruisers are so good in this game. However, they can easily get destroyed by your aircraft. Hence why it just almost one hit destroyed one of our Scorpion tanks. They're very dangerous. That's why we're going to send our Condor bomber here in order to take care of them. I'm going to send my Raptor to go take care of the one at the bottom, considering it's further away, so we can start chewing it on a little bit of damage. We're going to send them out to take care of this one. And finally, I want one to take care of the one near the actual one in the front. That way, I'll be able to utilize my Scorpion tank no matter what, and maybe even it out a little bit. My tank is very close to being destroyed. However, another thing you can do is double click something and use the repair option. It takes a little bit of money and wastes a turn, but you can heal, I believe, 20% of your troops' health. A problem with this is that if you do get attacked while you're healing, you'll immediately lose all the benefits and you'll waste your money as well. So a nice little thing to keep in mind. Since my Scorpion tank is already low in health, I'm actually going to advance this guy closer so he can't run around and take care of our Scorpion tank. And this should tie things up fairly easily. Our Condor bomber can't reach it, unfortunately, but nonetheless we can actually still send a troop there in order to close it in. Despite common sense, you can't actually fly the ship underneath the Condor bomber, so it's good to be able to corner it like this. That way we won't have to worry about it flying elsewhere and maybe taking care of a Scorpion tank or two. It's essentially useless here. Another thing is that we had a strike commando here which you could send to this oil refinery. We don't really need it. Generally speaking, you'll be commanding multidisciplinary forces. Picking up the right mix of air, sea, and ground forces is the key to strategic victory. Let's move on to the next lesson. Excuse me with that. Let's move on over to Bootcamp 4, Assembly Line. In this scenario, you must defend your base long enough to establish an army capable of overwhelming the enemy. Choke points enable the defender to keep back enemies even when he's at a numerical disadvantage. You're going to have to build an army to defeat the enemy in this scenario. War factories like this one can build land and air units. It can also build sea units too if it's located by a coastline. Unfortunately, war factories can only build units for which you have a matching control center. Luckily, there's one on the map and your commando has already started capturing it. When the ground control has been captured, clicking on the war factory will show you what units you can build. I suggest you move these Scorpion tanks into positions to create a choke point, considering all the tanks here can actually only move through this one area here, so we definitely want them to engage them at that area. The motor truck's ranged attack can help reinforce the choke points while you create reinforcements. But you'll notice that its attack range can fire 2 to 3 squares away. That means it can't attack anything closer to it, I believe. Or things right beside it. However, it can shoot over these mountains in order to help deal some damage while we're covering our reinforcement. Just remember that ranged units like the motor truck cannot move and attack at the same time. Begin. So with that in mind, if we click the war factory, you can see that we don't have any ground control, any air control, and any sea control. However, you notice that the commando is over the ground control right now, which is white, aka neutral, and it will be able to let us capture or create ground-based enemies. For the enemy, of course. So let's move these Scorpion trucks into position since they can't go from anywhere else. I'm going to set them up in a nice little square. I will move in later on. I want to set this guy up right in the center of these command ranges. I might build another truck in the future or send commandos through the mountain. I'm not too sure about that. Alright, so let's send our motor truck to start destroying these flak tanks immediately. I'm going to move my Scorpion back since it can't do as much damage as a fully hued Scorpion, so we're going to rotate the roster and start attacking you. And I'm going to send you into this corner just for the hell of it. I want this troop to start crawling through into the mountains. And I'm going to build another motor truck to put into one of these areas. So let us do that. The Scorpion tanks can only hit enemies beside it, by the way, hence why I'm not utilizing this one right here, if you haven't noticed yet. You select a unit, it'll tell you every single unit you can attack on that immediate turn. I'm going to do back. I want the Scorpion tank to start healing since we have a little bit of money from our 4 Oyos. We're going to have you destroy a Scorpion tank. And I'm going to have you continue to mow down on our flak tank. And this guy will start crossing into the mountain. I want to set this guy right up in here. And I don't have any more money, otherwise I would probably build an extra Scorpion tank. You'll notice that they're sending their enemies back. If we have motor tanks in position, we'll actually be able to take them on if they get too close to the mountain range. So we'll be able to destroy this one right here. Our previous tank has healed up, so I'm going to repair you. I'm going to rotate you out, and I'm going to attack with this one. I don't have too much to worry about my Scorpion tanks, considering these guys are already low on health. I'm worried about the Strike Commando though, which can run around, so I plan on chasing this guy down with my other tank. And this guy's still low on health, and I don't have the money, so I don't really need to make any more troops or repair. I'll worry about that in the future. Now, the reason why that Strike Commando chose to attack me either or is because it can't outrun me. Eventually, it's going to get destroyed. So instead, it's going to run at me, get killed by my counterfire, but still do a little bit of damage on me. That's its goal. Since it's moved its tanks out of the way, we can just send all our troops to start flooding in here immediately. My Strike Commando has no real uses here anymore, however I want to keep him there in order to prepare for some helpful fire. And otherwise, I'm going to rotate my tanks in, despite them having low health, because I don't need to worry about it. I have money. And these tanks are going to take at least 3 turns to get to my command center or destroy my motor trucks by going all the way around. So it's okay if we lose a few tanks due to this. I'm going to keep my motor trucks here, and I'm going to start having my commando strike move in. I lose 1 tank, but it's okay. I'm going to keep firing on these targets. And I'm going to have one of the biggies come in and take care of him. With that, I like to play very recklessly. You'll notice that in the future, I'll probably be throwing forces at an enemy just for the sake of keeping them busy. So I play very aggressive in my style. Otherwise, let's move in and take care of this Scorpion tank. And with that, we will complete this bootcamp mission. Leveraging a strategic choke point can be the difference between success and defeat in many battles. Support your unranged units with long-range artillery units like mortar and rocket trucks, which we were not able to access, excluding the mortar trucks, of course. Bootcamp 5. Consolidation, consolidate and push. You are tasked with salvaging a damaged force and using it to assault an island-based enemy using transports. So this will start telling us about moving units around. In some scenarios, you'll be joining your troops mid-battle. Here your forces had to retreat across a channel after being pummeled by the enemy troops. Rally your troops by repairing them from the safety of the remote island. There is a fee to repair. It will be subtracted when the repairs begin. The repair will complete at the next start of the next turn and will repair up to 25% of the health of the unit. You can repair repeatedly until your unit is at 100% health. If an enemy attacks you before the repair is complete, you will lose the cost of the repair and your repair will fail. Once your army is back in top shape, call a fleet of Leviathans and mount a counterattack. You can order repairs and Leviathan pickups from the Special Actions menu. Click twice on a unit to bring up the Special Actions menu. Good luck, soldier. So, in case you did not realize, we have a bunch of tanks here, and they can't cross water. You'll notice alongside these are called shores. With a shore, we can actually order to have a ship pick it up and move it over to the other island in order to activate it. Now, General Pearl suggested that we attack them after repairing our tanks. I don't like doing that. Instead, I'm going to be moving my... Hold on, let's close this menu. I'm going to be moving my Scorpion tank immediately, which will let us move technically a second turn. Nothing to really worry about. I'm going to send this one over here in order to pick up this oil refinery in the future. I'm going to send this heavy commando over here to capture this oil refinery immediately. The thing is, commandos are not very effective. You will almost never ever use them. However, you will keep them around in order to capture oil refineries because it's a requirement. So, since with our medium armor, I think I want to take on this flak cannon before it starts mowing down my artillery or my commandos too much. And I'm going to send you into the mountain range, and we're going to attack you for the hell of it. Shouldn't lose too much health on that. My rocket truck is unable to reach it with this range, so I'm going to call a Leviathan here. And I think I'm going to put it right here so that I can undock it in the future. And the rocket truck probably won't be able to destroy this strike commando or this flak cannon, but it will probably have the range to help us with these two scorpions and commandos. Alongside this, I want to send my two scorpions here as well to start fighting. And this one will probably take 2 turns, so this will be my backup if I really need it. So it's going to stay at sea. So you'll notice the Leviathans have no weapons. It has normal armor. It's really just a transport thing. It's slightly weaker, so it will easily get destroyed by anything like air units. So you tend to really want to intercept these guys. Aaron's moved really close in, so my rocket truck won't be as effective now, considering it probably won't be able to hit most of these enemies. I'm going to send you a Leviathan right now and send you over. Oh no, I can't capture that. There's no shoreline for it. Alright, well I'm going to send you over here then as backup. I'm going to set a Leviathan up here as well and move you around. That was probably not a smart move. I still need to hit this shoreline and unbeach it, so it's still going to take a while. This flak cannon didn't attack my commando because it was repairing. The repair was cancelled and it cannot counterattack with that. So let's unpackage the most of our tanks. We'll probably get a free slot for one of our tanks very soon, considering we don't have very much health. But that's a little bit of the risk with this. I'm going to actually shoot the Scorpion tank because that's not worth it to kill the flak cannon, something like a rocket tank. I'm going to have the strike commando get taken care of by the Scorpion, and I'm going to move my other Scorpion around to take care of their Scorpion. And that will free a slot for my other Scorpion. Scorpion tanks are very effective. When you start playing the game, you're going to be using Scorpion tanks quite a bit, but then you're going to be moving along and specializing with whatever you're really into. In my case, I'm really into Raptor fighter aircraft, and you'll understand that why I do that in the future. Once again, I do want to remind you, since it's 24 minutes and this video is going to take a little bit longer, that I am not good at strategy games. The reason why I chose to play this is because I have a little soft spot for games like these. I really enjoyed playing Battalion as a kid. I never knew that it was actually based off a different game. And another note is that I have never actually played Advanced Wars. However, I have played Advanced Wars sequel, Battalion Wars, which is more real time. And even then, I don't play that very properly, so yeah. Let's take care of the strike commando here, and we only have one Scorpion tank to take care of. And it'll probably be able to destroy my other tank unless it just sits here idly. And it is! It has accepted defeat. I'm going to move this tank out of the way and send in my healthy tank in to do significantly more damage. If it didn't die, I would then send in my regular Scorpion tank. If I used my lower health Scorpion tank first, it would have risked dying and doing very low damage. Congratulations, soldier. It looks like you're almost ready to graduate from Bootcamp. Not much longer, guys. Not much longer. Bootcamp 6. Gloves are off. This scenario accurately depicts challenges you might encounter on the front lines, requiring you to defeat an enemy as tactically capable as yourself. This is the final bootcamp mission, and it is the mission that is going to be your real challenge. However, the goal with this one is actually to capture their command center. It's closer to you, and another thing is that the AI for this specific mission is programmed to spit out as many troops over and over again. If you try to wipe out other troops, it is near impossible unless you have something to stand on top of their war factory, which is right here producing troops. You would have to stand right on top of it so that it wouldn't be able to develop troops. This thing spits troops out constantly, so you have to take care of the command center, whether you like it or not. So for this one, I plan on making maybe 2 strike commandos. Strike commandos because they're low on health and I don't really expect them to engage targets. I'll have my battle cruiser attack the Scorpion first so it doesn't do damage to the battle cruiser, and I'll send my Scorpion tank in to finish it off. If I sent my Scorpion in first, I would have lost some health on this tank, and that's it. That's the repercussion. My battle cruiser would still be able to attack and destroy it, but my Scorpion tank would be damaged. I'd rather save a little bit of its health. As you can see, they are immediately mobilizing troops, and since this one is very intensive, I'm actually going to create 2 strike commandos. One to go after the command center, the second one to grab this oil refinery just so I have a little bit of extra cash in the future. Otherwise, these tanks are starting to mobilize on us, and once again, I'm going to use my battle cruiser to help leverage me significantly. I might actually have it destroy the motor tank instead, since considering we already have 2 troops. I'm going to send this guy right on top of the ground control, not very useful. And another thing is that you'll probably want to develop quite a few Annihilator tanks. The problem with rocket trucks and motor trucks are that they aren't able to cover this wide area here. You might be able to send a rocket truck here and maybe it'll do a little bit of damage. Overall, it's not very effective. I made the mistake there of actually ending my turn when I shouldn't have. But it's probably nothing to really worry about. I'm actually going to primarily develop Scorpion tanks if I need a bunch of tanks, or Annihilator tanks to do most of the cleaning for me. As you can see, I cannot build any C units. 2 reasons why. One, I don't have a C unit command center like I do have a ground control. And another thing is that my war factory is not at a shoreline, which means I'm unable to actually create the ship and spit it right into the sea, which is what you would need to do in a real scenario. So my battle cruiser does 50 damage, and it does heavy damage, so I want to hit heavily armored units. So my motor truck has light armor, and my flak tank has medium armor, so I'm going to go after the flak tank instead. It's going to repair so it doesn't really expect to push too many enemies out immediately. I'm going to have 1 or 2 Annihilator tanks very soon, and you'll notice these things are expensive, but they're fucking bears. Not literally, of course, but they tend to blow up ships very quickly. Or tanks, rather. They're effective. I'm going to hit this motor truck because I simply don't want this thing attacking compared to these flak cannons. It'd be a lot easier. I'm actually going to hide these guys down here so they don't get destroyed by my flak tank. And this thing's going to be a fool by engaging my giant Annihilator tanks, which will promptly destroy them. The goal right now is to spit out as many tanks as I need in order to do the final push, and with that I'll probably eliminate them very quickly. So with this, let's circle around and take care of you. I might actually want to make a flak tank of my own in order to kill these troops. Maybe. Let's see here, what do I want to do? None of my tanks will actually do as much damage as I think they would. Do I want to make another Annihilator tank is the question. I'm not too sure about that yet. Since these tanks are back here, I'm going to actually have one move up and start tanking some damage. And with this, I think I want to start spitting out Scorpion tanks. So let's do that. I could send my troops over through sea in order to capture their command center right now. And I may consider doing that in a second. Let's see. Oh, another note is that I won't be completely silent while the AI is choosing their tactics. The reason being, in the later missions, they will take literally 1 to 5 minutes just setting up their troops. They will try to calculate every single possible movement in the attempts of outsmarting you. So those games end up literally being 2 to 3 hours long. So that's going to be a challenge, which is why I won't be splitting these videos up to 24-minute segments. It would be impractical. I'm going to have you destroy this Scorpion tank. Let's have you take care of one of the troops. You can't get in just yet. I'm actually going to send my Scorpion tanks in right now. And it seems my strike commando isn't able to go into sea. I presume it's because I don't have a water control thing, although I'm not really familiar with the situation with that. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. Those guys will probably stay back and move in the center or at the back in order to start capturing command troops. The reason why I may want to put them in center is so they have a faster opportunity to start taking these guys out. Going to shoot up that flak tank. This guy will hopefully be able to destroy it. No, it won't. We're going to be stuck in our land dismay. It's okay. We're going to produce more tanks. As they say, the Scorpion tank really is the versatile tank that is the backbone of most armed forces. This thing is so effective to just start spitting out, and you do crazy amounts of damage if you manage to swarm someone with it. So let's start advancing our tanks in. We have an Annihilator tank over there, so I might want to send one of my guys right up. Now with that, I want to actually start moving my troops in. So let's set that up. And we're going to destroy this Annihilator tank. It looks like my battlecruiser will still have the range for it, so that's okay. And quite a scenario going on here. I want to check on my rocket trucks. If that's 3 to 5 squares away, that would be... Okay, so I do want to produce a rocket truck. I'll do that in the next few rounds. For the most part, we're going to start having a gunfight here. My Annihilator tank is a little bit low on health, and what I worry is that the other Annihilator tank will get the opportunity to start beaching it first. So, I think I'm actually not going to attack this round, but rather reset my cannons so they're in a better situation. I'm going to send this tank out here, and then I'm going to move you in to take care of him. And we're going to have a better Annihilator tank take care of the other one. Now my troops have a clear line of entrance all the way in. My current tanks that are on their island should be just fine, so I don't need to worry about about putting tanks in front of my troops instead, considering we already have quite a good setup. There you can see the heavy commando. The problem with the heavy commando is that it's cheap and it does good damage against tanks. And the reason why it's a problem with that is because it takes one whole turn when you get better alternatives in the future. Those turns where you get a chance to produce ships or tanks or airplanes is so important, considering the enemy in the future will outnumber you greatly. So let's start setting this up. I want to send my Scorpion tank right here to actually start taking care of these guys and wasting their time. I'm going to have this Scorpion tank take care of this one. I mean Annihilator tank. Finish that off. I do have an Annihilator tank right there, but first I want to send a regular troops to simply do some damage on him. And we're going to start surrounding this, and very soon we're actually going to start capturing things. So it looks like my rocket truck was not very useful after all. Another stupid move I made was actually using my Scorpion tank class, because I would have probably been able to start capturing on that very turn if I didn't do that, so that was a mistake on my part. Otherwise, we're pretty much secured. Even if they were very powerful, they would take turns trying to destroy my tanks one by one. And we've essentially swarmed into their base. And now we can just create a giant barrier of tanks around them so that they can't do nothing. Now, I'm just doing this for funsies. They probably won't be able to do anything either or. So we'll end our turn and we'll start capturing it. Then goes for an Annihilator tank. Unfortunately, Scorpion tanks are very powerful in their offensive capabilities. They have Blitz on them, which does 20% more damage if it attacks first. The reason why this is so amazing is because it uses medium and medium armor and weapons. This way, their damage, no matter what, never gets reduced, and you get an extra stack of damage on top of that, which is incredible. Move in here and we'll blow out this flak cannon. And we've essentially trapped them inside their own war factory. They can't do anything anymore. If I really wanted to, I could actually have this troop start capturing things, but it doesn't matter. We're pretty much going to capture this in maybe the next round. And even then, we win. Because even if our commando wasn't able to capture it immediately, our Annihilator tank would fight that flak cannon and probably destroy it. Even if the flak cannon didn't get destroyed, the flak cannon's return fire would kill our Annihilator tank, giving us some space in order to send another Scorpion tank in there to finish it off. Congratulations, you have completed your boot camp training. Head back to headquarters and prepare for departure to the front lines. With that, my 36-minute commentary on Battalion Nemesis is finally complete. Thank you for enjoying or watching up to this point. In Bootcamp and in the next one, we're going to have one video per campaign mission. I know this sounds weird because, let's be fair, the first 4 missions of campaign will probably be like 5 to 10 minutes. But the last few missions are going to take 2 to 3 hours probably. They're going to take an insane amount of time. Nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed this video. The link to the game is in the description below, and I will see you on the battlefield.